Well, hello, and welcome back to This Ish Has Gotten Out of Hand. I am your host, Kate, who has a slight problem with seeds and seed starting. And in fact, okay, right here, you guys, these are actually all sweet peas. Story time. I bought a bunch of sweet peas. I went down the rabbit hole in 2022. I started a bunch. Almost all of them were promptly eaten by the birds, and I stuck them in the back of my fridge and kind of forgot about them. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So flash forward to 2025, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just pick up a few packets. And so I bought 4 packets of sweet peas. Well, when I opened my fridge, I suddenly remembered I had all of these. So let's break it down, you guys. We're gonna do some sweet peas today. I wanna go through what I'm selecting. I wanna go through some quick basics on the reason I'm starting the things in the method that I am starting them. And obviously, we wanna talk about pretty flowers. So I'm gonna grab my notepad and we're gonna jump in. I'm gonna give you a nice little primer and we're gonna get after it. Okay, let's go. Here, this one is Nimbus, White Frills, Limelight, April in Paris, Windsor. If you are new here, I love a color-coded moment. I love a color-coded moment. So I have essentially broken down my sweet peas that I purchased into 4 categories. We have like the neutral whites, which range from like stark white to a little bit of limey white to cream. I have my peaches and pinks, which are adorable, exactly what you would think they would be. I also have a selection of ones that are like on that maroon raspberry trajectory, which are really fun. And then apparently I am super into blue / lavender sweet peas. So I really have everything but like those bright sharp tones, which is not really my jam. I really want to organize, I want to grow things that I'm going to use in vases around my house. And so for me, if it's not my jam, I'm not going to grow it. But this is what my jam is. And so we're going to jump in. And I want to go over some basics. I want to go over what I'm using and the different methods that I have tried. So first and foremost, sweet peas are not like edible garden peas. They are not edible. Don't try to do it. They will poison you. Okay, next on the list. Sweet peas vary in size. Sometimes you get like a real tiny little guy, and then other times it's actually more substantial. These are all soaked, so they're all kind of puffed up, but I had a couple older seeds that didn't puff up very well. And you can kind of see right here the difference between the two. There you have it. So your unswollen sweet pea will be this one in my left hand, and some of the bigger varieties are this size when they are not swollen. So you're going to read a couple of different methods online. Most of them say you want to soak these for anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. Just depends on the website that you go to. I also have people who try the pre-sprout method, which means you are taking your seed, you are tucking it between several layers of paper towel. You're getting that soaking wet and you're throwing it in a Ziploc bag. I don't have a lot of Ziploc bags on hand. I try not to use that product. So I'm a soaker. Is what I do. But also I encourage you, just because this works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. If you have another method, you do you. All right, so what I want to do is I want to give you the short little cliff notes on what we are doing today so that you can have all your information right up front. You're ready to go. We are soaking our sweet peas. Do that for anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. We are almost at 24 hours here. You are next going to plant them on. There's a couple different methods. There are some people who do soil blocking. I've done that before. I didn't feel like my blocks were big enough. And so I am going to use a super tall tray. You can find root trainers, but for me, I am a recent Bootstrap Farmer obsessed junkie. You know I love their stuff. This is not new news here. However, you guys, they actually took note and they sent me these goodies, which I am like gobsmacked over. These, unlike their smaller 6-pack, their 6-cell ones, these are the 4-cell. this is what you need. These are 4 inches tall. If you try to do something, and this is where I was having trouble with my soil block method, those soil blocks, even when I use the big 2-inch ones, it's not sufficient because this bad ride has a huge taproot on it that is going to shoot straight down, and you really don't want to disturb that root when you're getting it into the ground. I have seen people like double up their soil block and then like hold it together with a toothpick. I don't have time for that. That feels way too exhaustive. Oh, okay, Brian is back with a visual example. Oh. Stop throwing things. You guys, catching things is not my strong suit. Okay. So here we go. This is one of my little 6 cells from downstairs, and you can see that it's literally twice the size. I love these things. They're amazing, but these 4-inch tall ones, this is just what you need. Don't try to start a sweet pea in this. It's not going to work. So I have 4 trays prepped. The first one is for all of my gorgeous, like purpley blue. And because they're like somewhere between purple and blue, I did half and half. Okay, moving on. Next category are the peachy pinks, the yumminess, and this one, again, you guys, I have a full tray of seeds. And oh, by the way, for each variety, I'm gonna actually start a singular 4-pack. Next, for all of my whites, I've got this going on here. I just decided, since I had one that was called Limelight, I'm just gonna go with these fresh greens. And then last but not least, I have my maroon/raspberry selection, and I don't have a tray that color. So we're going with the orange. Okay, let's start from the top. I'm gonna go through what I chose. I'll see if I can make a little collage-y thing and pop it up on the screen so you can see what I'm playing with. So friends, I was about ready to tell you that I was a low-maintenance seed starting girly until I remembered that I'm putting them in all these adorable teacups and I'm color coding my trays. So whatever. I'm just going to show you what I use. I like to keep it fairly simple. So first and foremost, these are 6-inch labels. These ones are interesting. I like these for these taller cells because normally you just see the 4-inch ones and it's not big enough. There's one smooth side and then there's one more roughed up side. I have pre-written all my labels because I'm also an absent-minded gardener. I've pre-written everything with a very basic garden marker. This is a fine tip garden marker. And so that is already done. Check, check. And then I have a little pencil here that I'm using to make a hole. I will add links to everything as per usual, including the larger 4 inches in the description below. Pop down there if you have any questions. We're going to start off with my blue and purple zone here. I'm just going to kind of go one by one, and I'm going to show you the process that I'm going to do for each and every one of these. To start off, I'm actually going to tell you what I have selected, and we're going to pop it up on the screen. And it's interesting because when I went back through, I have everything from like a barely there lilac-y lavender to really strong, intense navies. I think my favorite of the bunch when I grew it last time was Nimbus because it's like speckly and super yummy. Okay, we are doing Winter Sunshine Navy. This one is a new one to me. It's called Kingfisher. I'm very excited about this. We also have My Navy, Nimbus, fan favorite, King's High Scent, so lovely. And this one, I never know how to say it, but it is super cute. I wasn't sure if it was going to be my jam, but Florette was like, this is the best. And so, you know, I listened to her. It's called Earhorn, Erewhorn. Correct me if I'm not saying this correctly. I have Sir Jimmy Shand, which I'm very excited about. Our Harry, Earl Grey, another speckly wonder, and Oban Bay. I think this one is one of the ones I'm the most excited to try out this year. So when I go through, I usually lay all of my seeds front to back, and I like to look at everything, and I like to put it in the back so I see what category is blooming first. I'm one shy. Dang it, I gotta get one more. Brian, film please. Phil, assistant. Okay, while Brian is filling that, let's jump in. So this is Winter Sunshine Navy. And by the way, I stuck these in the fridge way back. I've got one of those super deep fridges, not the countertop depth one. And so stuff gets lost in the back. I only had 5 of these left. And so we're going to go for broke and we're going to see if I can start all 5. So these are the Winter Sunshine Navy. And so for these ones, each cell is going to get 1 seed. And these are going a 1/2 inch deep. And so what's kind of cool is I just literally insert this up to that yellow part. And that's about a 1/2 inch. Super easy. And these do need darkness to germinate. And so we're just going to pop these little guys in. And that's all she wrote. You guys, Brian is becoming a very good assistant. This one is going to be our Harry, and he's probably going to live in with the whites because that's neutral. Okay, I'm going to get after it, and you're going to see me just pot all of these up. So let's throw on some music and go to town. Okay, so this is some of the seed that I saved from 2022. Now, what's fantastic about this, I actually purchased these ones from Floret, and I have only 4 seeds remaining. Because I only have 4 seeds, I'm going to sow 1 in each cell, so I have the maximum opportunity to have 4 plants, because that's what I'm planning for my spacing. Now, if this were, there's only 1 in here that I think is a little questionable. The others have puffed up beautifully, but I have one that stayed pretty shriveled. It hasn't swelled at all. If you have a seed that stays shriveled or floats, that may be a really good indication that that seed won't actually germinate. But you know, here's the deal. The answer is always no unless you ask. You are always going to have 100% failure of the things that you do not try. So for me, I throw it in, I see what happens. Okay, friends, next is one of my favorite categories. I am a big light pink, peachy kind of gal. Fun fact, my grandmother's favorite color was peach. So here we go. This is in that category what I have. I have Molly Rillstone, Frilly Millie, Jill Walton, Spring Sunshine Peach. I also have Spring Sunshine Champagne, Bix. I could like end right there. Bix is one of my favorites. I also have Anniversary and April in Paris. I didn't grow this one last year. Very excited about that one. All my tags are already pre-marked, so all I gotta do is stick them in my containers, and next category is planted. Okay, so I want to touch on really quickly why I'm doing 2 seeds per cell. And here's the deal. I'm using some older seed. This one is Anniversary. And what I'm noticing here is, do you see 1, 2, 3 of them have doubled in size, whereas 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have not. Do you see that size difference there? I mean, it's pretty pronounced in my opinion. I know just from experience that these swollen seeds have a much better chance of germination, whereas these 4, they might be duds. And so I just wanted to pop in briefly to let you know, I'm actually, even though I'm going 2 per cell, I'm going to pair 1 swollen seed with 1 of what I presume to be a dud. Now, I have been surprised by Mother Nature more than, you guys, more times than I can count. And so I'm never going to count these ones out, but I also know that it's highly unlikely that these suckers are going to germinate. So I may end up with only 3 of Anniversary, but that's totally okay. I'm still going to have more sweet peas than I really know what to do with. So friends, I'm doing 5 whites this year, and they're all a little bit different. And so this is kind of my attempt to figure out which white I enjoy the most. So I have Royal Wedding, Jilly, White Frills, limelight, and clotted cream. And these all vary. This is kind of what I do with my dahlias. Some of these vary from like a cool toned stark white to something more creamy and lovely. And then I also have limelight, which has a hint of that lime green coming through. And so I should have lots of beautiful neutrals to play with. Last but not least, we have my kind of like maroony raspberry tones. This is my smallest collection, but I'm no less excited about it. Okay, let's jump in. I have Zinfandel, which is kind of like exactly what you would imagine. I also have Windsor. I've grown Windsor before. I love it. It's just like very deep and luscious. I also have Raspberry Twirl, which I'm very excited about. It's another kind of mottled petal, which I enjoy. And then last but not least, I have Fandango Moon. Okay, friends, we've got everything potted up, and I want to go over just a few little tips. If you are in a warmer zone, you can totally fall plant these. I could absolutely fall plant them. I just didn't have the time or the energy in the fall, which quite frankly, let's be realistic, not everyone has. So I'm spring sowing mine. The challenge is, and I touched on it earlier, is the birds are voracious. And as soon as these tender little shoots come up, they're like, oh, great, someone planted candy. And then all of them have disappeared. So I'm playing with a couple different options. One thought I had is this is just like a flimsy kind of nursery tray that comes when I pick up plants. One line of thinking was, okay, what if I did something like that and then pinned it down so they couldn't yank it off? So that was an idea I had. But then another thought that I had, because I don't want my birds getting in here, is I might actually create some sort of structure and then drape bird netting over top. Okay, last couple things that I want to touch on. I am not planting these directly in the ground yet because I still have work to do down in my cut flower garden with regard to infrastructure and spacing. So in terms of infrastructure, you want these to grow on something. And some of these varieties can get up to 6 feet tall. The other thing is when you get these into the ground, when you're transferring them from this little cutie into the ground, you really want, I would say, maybe 4 to 6 inches of growth. And also, you don't want to disturb your taproot. So for me, I'm using these Bootstrap 4 cells that are really tall. They're 4 inches tall. And I'm going to get a little air pruning that's coming through here through these slits, but I am going to see my taproot come out the bottom. What I want to do is when I transfer this, I'm going to use my baby Hori Hori that you guys have seen me use before, but you can totally use a butter knife. And I'm going to scoop out each individual one, being really careful not to disturb that taproot, and plant it into the ground. These are also really heavy feeders. So when I plant, I'm going to heavily amend with compost. Kind of last thing on the radar is a lot of people like to pinch out the center of their sweet peas when they're about 4 to 6 inches tall. Totally feel free to do that. You just want to leave a couple of leaf pairs attached. When you're growing these on, they are lovely cut flowers. They don't last very long in a vase. So think like 4-ish days. However, it's really fun to use the beautiful tendrils because it double acts as like floral and foliage. So those are super fun in an arrangement. And if you do use the tendrils in an arrangement and the flower dies, you just snip it off and you still have tendrils growing. Now, when you're sourcing sweet peas, there aren't a huge quantity of vendors out there. I think every seed company has just a few, but when you're looking for those specialty, harder to find ones, there's a couple of resources that I might recommend. Anne from Dahlia House, she doesn't just do dahlias. She's in the sweet pea game too. And actually I purchased My Navy, Bix, and I think Limelight were the 3 I purchased at the Northwest Lawn Garden Festival. I purchased all those from her. I've also purchased from Ardelia Farms. I've purchased from Uprising Seeds. So what I'll do is and I've purchased from Floret when they were in the seed game. What I'm going to do is I will list my seed sources that I have purchased from and vendors that I have loved in the description below. And then I'm also going to list the link to a book that, word on the street, is fabulous. They were having the book launch party at the same time as the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival. Otherwise, I would have been up at Christensen's in a heartbeat. Okay, the book is Sweet Pea School by Maryn Mathis. That's Marryn Mathis, Mathis. She is kind of like, I feel like she is on the scene as one of the foremost authorities on growing sweet peas. And so I'm actually ordering that book, and with any luck, it'll be here in a day or two. All right, friends, I think that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so very much to Bootstrap for being a sponsor of this video. And thank you to you guys for introducing me to one of my favorite best buys of 2024. And we're going to keep rocking and rolling right into 2025 because these things, I'm telling you, they are indispensable. Okay, I'm going to see you in the next one. Say hello to your garden for me. Take care.